focus on this, I think Jonathan mentioned, on this mobile first type approach. I read a nice quote that one can say that mobile is disrupting the web just as web disrupted print. You know, and
yes.
How important is mobile to your organization? What have you been doing? Can you share some with your fellow peers?
Well, it's definitely important. After seeing the slide today, I think it deserves a lot more importance. So what we're doing today is still in a very early experimental kind of. So we're doing the basic today, for example, and I think this is something that every marketeer should be doing as of today. Make sure that any piece of content that is being developed for the brand is developed also in mobile-friendly versions. So be it a video, be it a key visual for your, be it a pack shot.
Is your website mobile-friendly?
Yes.
Your own website?
Yes.
Okay, because it's amazing. How, I mean, that easy first step that so many websites here don't even have a mobile-friendly version or responsive.
So those are the basics. Your website, all the marketing content that we produce, make sure that they are mobile-friendly, because it's very different when you see something in a 19, 17-inch screen, and when you see it on a mobile. So that's number one. Number two, which has to go back to also something that Jonathan shared, which is that mobile is actually dominated by apps. So what we're experimenting with, and I think this is an area that I really think we have everything. Unlike content, for example, I would tell you, yes, we're facing a lot of challenges when it comes to finding resources to work and develop content in a very meaningful way, a consumer language, very witty branded messages and things like that. So we're facing a lot of challenges. In terms of app development, I actually think that we have enough resources, expertise, creativity in the region amongst local and international app developers here in the region. So experiment with apps that are purely branded apps that you come up with as a brand. Experiment in tying up funding, sponsoring, advertising, product placement within apps that you believe have relevance to your target audience, and this is what we're doing. So we're investing and trying to see, are there apps and we've developed a few apps that actually did not make it. Once we developed them, we tested them. Consumers didn't really find them useful, so we just put them in the
you
track.
didn't launch it?
No. So we have some that we did not launch. We have some that we're hopeful that testing will actually prove that consumers do find them useful. But we're also trying to stay very close with app developers who we think have ideas that could potentially fit our brand, with a branded message within it, with a sponsorship of that app. With
do you have any examples? Are you advertising on mobile? I mean, is that a plan? Or?
We did. We actually produced one of the initiatives that we did, which was a pure social media and digital campaign. Was we produced a song, and we cooperated with Ala Wardi. I'm sure he's a very talented musician here, and we created a video, and we wanted to find platforms where we can distribute the video. And reach out the maximum number of people. So we hooked up with Anghami, an app that I think is doing very, very well, and we actually had the song over there as a downloadable, viewable, and the audio file as well as a full kind of sponsorship package for a couple of months. I mean, as I said, I'm really not interested in measuring the results of a specific activity, or so far the combined effect of moving all the money from TV and spending it into digital and social has been working very well for us.
Well, I mean, Facebook's been aggressive on mobile, and I can't. Everyone's on mobile on Facebook.
Yeah.
How does that fit?
Yeah,
for
I
you?
mean, so I think from a macro point of view, to your point, I think Mary Meeker's latest chart says something like, on average, 20% of our time is on mobile, but 4% of the ad spend is on mobile. So there's the obvious delta that will naturally close. I think the best way to understand Facebook's transition to mobile is in terms of our revenue. So Facebook's mobile revenue 2012 was exactly zero. We had no mobile revenue. There were no ads in the mobile newsfeed. And our revenue now is in excess of 60% is mobile. And this isn't because Facebook has said, dear everybody, please spend more time on your mobile devices. It's just because mobile devices are faster, better, apps are loading quicker, connectivity is getting better, and they add tremendous utility to our lives. I mean, everybody has them. I think the stat is that the mobile device is on average with us for 22 hours out of 24. People sleep with it next to them. I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary. So we say internally, every time we set goals and put predictions in about the shift to mobile, it just gets shot through every single time. The shift to mobile happens so much faster than we can predict.
You were mentioning about content, and we represent many publishers. We've done a lot of work on producing branded content, working with partners. It works for many, it doesn't work with others. And we mentioned before the challenges of working with a traditional company on creating content for a brand. But I do believe that publishers have been doing for decades creating content. And you mentioned you had some challenges in the conversation before. How do you think you can address those so that you have partners that can create content that can be distributed on huge platforms, amplified, shared, liked? How can you engage with partners, publishing partners, to get that done? And I think Will probably have some examples also. But I really want to hear some advice for other brands to engage with publishers, because you already engage on advertising. You mentioned,
yes.
I buy banners, I buy, but creation of content has to be a way where the two parties work together.
Yes.
What can be done?
I think it's primarily on our shoulder as marketeers. So when in the few examples that worked very well for us, we actually did not have any challenges working with other parties, creating content that we felt delivered on the brand messages that we wanted. The most difficult part was deciding and aligning and feeling comfortable with what are the objectives that we are expecting out of this initiative. So, for example, the song that we created was not a typical advertising. So the brief for it was there was enough room for anyone, for talented, creative people to come and pitch in with ideas, to come up with ideas, to suggest, to propose. If I go to a creative with a brief that says, I want you to sell for me this bottle of water, you have to mention that it is 250 ml. You have to show some kind of comparison to another brand. You have to. I'm basically restricting you within. And I think on social and digital, it goes back to the overall content challenge of the way marketeers need to talk about their brands, think about their brands, and talk about their brands is completely different today. You need to have something that is more relevant to the consumer. The message has to be a story that has a very clear value proposition to the consumer. It's no longer, I'm the maker of this bottle of water, I want you to buy me because I'm the cheapest, I'm the best, there needs to be something more entertaining, more engaging in the message. If you really spend a lot of time doing that internally, making sure that you know what are the messages of your brand, what are you okay with, to what degree is mentioning the brand name more important than showing the product. All of these are enablers for creative people to cooperate with you, and content creators are creative people.
Of course.
Yeah, I think Khaled mentioned this earlier, and it's a good point. It doesn't matter whether you are working with Twitter or whether you're working with Facebook or YouTube, it doesn't matter. You need to have some semblance of an objective. And it's the difference between, ready, aim, fire, and ready, fire, aim. And I think if you run out and just jump in your car for the sake of, I'm just going to get in my car and get going, the chances are you're going to go around in circles and actually not get anywhere meaningful. So going back to your specific question, it would depend, working with publishers would depend what your objective would be. If, for example, you were looking to drive your equity scores around, affinity for being modern and contemporary and so on, that might be a meaningful objective. Maybe your brand is losing out in relevance to maybe a newer, younger brand. Working with a publisher who can uniquely supply you with that content sounds like a really smart idea, and we're seeing that happen. I think that one of the watch-outs there is just making sure that you gain attribution for that. One of the things we often say to clients is, if you put your thumb over the logo, can that get misattributed to any brand? And this is basics of advertising that we all grew up with. It's the same thing. It's like, no, I've got puppies and kittens and babies. This is going to really hum in social media. Well, yeah, it probably will hum in social media, but it's maybe unless you're selling baby products or dog or cat food, you're probably not going to get much attribution to your brand.
Is there any questions on the floor before I ask panelists to wrap up? Yeah, we have a question here.
Hello.
Hey,
I have a question.
What's your name? Which company do you work with?
My name is Omar Anwar. I have a question regarding brands in Saudi Arabia. Why is it that brands follow trends in Saudi Arabia like sheep in a herd? Like whenever a new trend comes in Saudi Arabia, for example, like recently online comedy came in, and every brand was doing that. Why is it that all the brands follow the same trends and do not try to innovate or like bring in new content or new sponsor new creation?
Why, I don't know, but it's a very good question to marketeers. I think it's a very competitive market, and I do think that as business owners and business leaders, there is this tendency that to believe, and I think as people overall, we tend to believe that if people are doing X, then X is right. Okay, so if the majority is going right, then I should go right. If the majority are going left, I should go left. Perhaps it's a cultural thing. That would be my only explanation. But I totally agree. Yes, we tend to follow trends almost like blindly and very quickly. We just convert very quickly.
And they die off in a couple of years.
And
those trends die off in a couple of years.
Yeah, because they're unjustified. So when it's just like the typical example in business and entrepreneurship, and I'm sure a lot of you are fans of entrepreneurship and talks about entrepreneurship. But one of the famous jokes about the Saudi economy is that if you go on a street and someone opens up a barber shop, you would find 10 others just copying the idea and opening barbershops. Of course, all of them, or the majority of them except one, will eventually need to close down, because you can't really have 10 barbershops in one street. So
that's true. Brands do look at competition and what the kind of activities they are conducting, and there's a fear, if I don't do some of that, at least touch upon it, it might. But as Khaled said, if it doesn't convert to business metrics,
yes,
it will just be an experiment, will die. So there's a lot of platforms in the past that were trends, but if they couldn't sustain the test of time, it just didn't succeed.
What's interesting, that we see with the large brand marketers, is actually not their peer group that they're looking to emulate. They're actually most looking to emulate the smaller and medium-sized businesses who move faster. When we get asked for case studies, okay, sure, I want to see what the big guys are doing because I'm interested, but who's really doing it well? Who's really going fast? And of course, that tends to be the smaller entrepreneurs.
Let's wrap up by, let's give a piece of advice You know, coming all the way from where, you say? New York?
New York, I started, yeah.
Piece of advice for Saudi decision makers here on digital marketing that they can leave today with, that you know, a professional from New York can share, and then same thing from your side, on a local level, let's share something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think my advice would be don't overcomplicate it. Think about the people that matter to your business. Think about all the people that matter to your business. Think about crafting, so start with that segment and think about crafting a relevant, insightful, perhaps benefit-driven message for them, and then just focus on making sure that it's reaching them where they're spending their time. And on the whole, what we're all seeing, and we'll take a break in a minute and we'll all check our phones, we're spending our time on mobile devices. So think about the people that matter to you, think about content that matters to them, and think about reaching them on the devices that they care about.
Excellent. Khalid?
Two pieces of advice. One, as we said, keep the measurement stable. The same way you used to measure your business, you need to continue measuring it in the same way. Number two, which is probably something that we didn't have the chance to talk about, but I think it's very, very important. Our relationship as marketeers with our agencies needs a complete revamp. Agencies are all, our advertising agencies, our media agencies are all still trying to figure out how are they going to make as much money as they used to from traditional media and from traditional advertising from the new media. And to be fair to them, we have to change the way we pay them, we structure our relationship with them. It's, if you still have one agency that is working on your brand, I'll tell you, you will fail. I don't think there is any chance for any brand manager to depend on one typical advertising agency to come up with ideas that are convenient and relevant for above-the-line advertising, traditional advertising, social, digital. You need to restructure your agency relationships. You need to explore more options, and you need to start with yourself as well in having the mastery of. If you're not on Facebook, you're not on Twitter, you're not going to be able to use them effectively. So
that's definitely a whole session could be dedicated to that. Thank you to both Khalid and Will, and they're going to be around for more questions.